Hello all, Rick here with a video looking into some other less explored worlds of our very own solar system in Star Trek. I already looked at Luna, our own moon, and how it evolved in the lore, but now we're heading further afield to look at the moons of our largest planets, Saturn and Jupiter, starting with the king of planets. The Jovian moons feature prominently in the lore, both canon and extra-canonical materials. It would be remiss of me not to at least mention the Jupiter Station research outpost, but I've got a separate video covering that. Additionally, there is a long-range sensor station called Jupiter Outpost 92 somewhere around here, but it's not confirmed if this is automated on a moon in orbit or just nearby, or if there are another 91 others too. Finally, there was a station here simply called Jupiter Station in 2151, but it's unlikely that it would have been the same research station as later featured, as this one was a repair facility. On to the natural satellites now. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system of rock and water with an internal ocean and molten core. Larger than Mercury, it also has a magnetic field and incredibly thin oxygen atmosphere. Ganymede was first explored in Star Trek as part of the Jovian exploration missions of the 21st century, pre-warp flight. During the first manned missions to take samples, a form of basic plant life was discovered in its water ice. This plant life had cancer-inhibiting properties and was extensively studied, forming the basis for Starfleet's treatments and prevention of this illness. This may be later tied into the exploration missions of the Jovian moons under the Europa missions of 2024. After first contact, Starfleet set out to explore the solar system with low warp and impulse drives, vastly collapsing the travel times required. Rakisa Industrial Minerals was planning to set up a mining colony and began efforts in 2140. However, when the Earth-Romulan War began in 2156, these plans were put on hold. The colony was finally opened in 2165. Most of the minerals mined here were iron, copper, and bauxite, and the colony housed 20,000 people. By the 24th century, RIM was still in operation and was among the largest contributors of steel to Earth. In conjunction, the Andorian Mining Consortium and Klingon House of Qatar had operation of several of the RIM plants via contract. Perhaps its role in construction is what led Montgomery Scott to visit it once, where he obtained an alcoholic drink that was green. There was also a Terran Intelligence Agency outpost here which dates it, as that organisation is likely a part of Starfleet now. Callisto housed another mining conglomerate, the Dennis and Young Amalgamated Industries. It mostly exported iron and it was up and running by 2165. Io was featured prominently in Star Trek Picard as one of the locations for the Europa mission, and it was a treasure trove of finds. The geologically active satellite housed a microorganism that was discovered in 2028, establishing the existence of extraterrestrial life. René Picard, an ancestor of Jean-Luc Picard, suspected the find to be sentient, and while it's unclear if this was the case, further research revealed that it could play a role in reversing atmospheric damage. Further explorations revealed the presence of a strange mineral deposit of quartz-like crystals. While initially unclear as to their role, they too were taken back to Earth to study, and in time played a key role in the development of future warp travel, as they were clarified to have been dilithium crystals. This made Io one of the first dilithium mines in the solar system, and by the 24th century, Starfleet operated Earth-Io shipping lanes. Now, in the Kelvin timeline, Section 31 constructed a base here under the mandate of Admiral Marcus. This was the secret construction yard for the USS Vengeance and the holding facility for Khan Noonien Singh and his cryogenically suspended followers. With that timeline diverging substantially from the Prime timeline, it's uncertain if there is any such base on Io, but it seems unlikely. Europa is an icy moon of salt water, encased in a frozen shell, making it an expansive, smooth desert of ice, with speculation as to what may be found below the surface. Europa houses 50-metre squids that have been likely seeded there by the preservers, millennia past. These were discovered on a follow-up mission in the early 22nd century called Nautilus. This mission saw a specialised submarine delve beneath its frozen surface to explore, only to be attacked by such a creature and implode. Such a mission was not repeated for 50 years. Well, that's bloody terrifying. By 2146, Starfleet had established an outpost there, simply called Europa Base. A few years later, a resort opened there as part of the Club Jove Adventures chain, joining the new Sol 5 shipyard and numerous other colony sites. Eventually it housed a staggering 20 million colonists, and the moon's vast oceans were being mapped out, and it was still a colony site by the 32nd century. Moving on to our adorned ring world. Saturn seems to house a lot of Starfleet training facilities, with its moons housing several outposts for such observations and coordination. Memis, despite looking like a space station with its impact crater Herschel, had a Starfleet flight range that included an emergency evacuation station for training accidents, where the emergency beamouts functioned as a safety net around the nearby space. Rhea is the second largest moon of Saturn, but is an arid, almost airless rock, though in 2010 oxygen and carbon dioxide traces were discovered. Rhea is said to be similar to Rigel 8, an Orion world, which might suggest that it has since been terraformed to have an M-class atmosphere, or at least has atmospheric domes there. Not much else is clear. Now, Titan has a lot more going on, and seems to be Starfleet's main presence around Saturn. In real life, the second largest moon of our system has a strong atmosphere of nitrogen and methane. Liquid methane rivers and lakes run across its -179°C surface. The Jovian Run was the daily shuttlecraft flight between Saturn and Jupiter for personnel transfer and such. Both Edward Jellicoe and Geordie LaForge spent time on this shift, where they performed the discouraged Titan's Turn, which involved skimming the atmosphere at high impulse to accelerate the shuttle to 0.7 the speed of light for fun. Starfleet operated extravehicular training missions on Titan since the early 22nd century, with both Jonathan Archer and Trip Tucker taking part in the Omega training missions there. Its inhospitable atmosphere houses several domes that were beginning to be established in the wake of World War III, before First Contact accelerated their installations. These eventually acted as establishing grounds to set up the Sol 6 shipyard, with a colony of 110 million people by the late 2200s. It was a sizable enough colony to have its own government and, like Mars, became a separate entity, strongly tied to Earth, but with its own membership clause in the United Federation of Planets. Like many other moons around the gas giants, we also have a mine here named Crestbrock. There was a collapse here around the 2250s, which necessitated atmospheric processes to clean the air. By the late 24th century, terraforming efforts had rendered the moon kind of habitable as an M-class biome-ish, although surface gravity was still lessened and the temperature was below freezing. Colonization continued and included several research sites, including habitat and liquid hydrocarbon research. These may be linked to continued terraforming efforts, as there are references to tillable soil and a crop growth on Titan. In the 31st century, Titan split from the United Earth and the Federation, feeling that they no longer had the need to share resources and were self-sufficient in the post-burn era. This did not last, however. Barely 100 years later, an accident wiped out a third of the habitable sites and soil, suggesting a large ecosystem collapse. They petitioned Earth for assistance, but were mistaken for hostiles and turned to raiding the system to survive, until in 3190 they rejoined the Federation. In the Kelvin timeline, it also housed flight training missions from Starbase Zeta, and considering the flight ranges of Mimas and Starfleet's presence here, this is probably the case in the Prime reality too. For further viewing, you can check out my video on Jupiter Station and Starbase 1, both of which do or have occupied a position over Jupiter. Or you can check out my video on the Moon. I'm pretty proud of that one. Thanks for watching this exploration of the moons of our gas giants, and until the next one, I've been Rick, and goodbye.